1932, Rome. The city, steeped in history and mystery, welcomed Michael Clarkson, a young architect, and his wife, Stephanie, a journalist with a fascination for the supernatural. Their journey to Rome was a vacation and an opportunity for Stephanie to indulge her interests in the enigmatic world of exorcisms and religious mysteries. Their first few days were spent visiting historical landmarks like the Vatican and the Colosseum, enjoying the vibrant Roman culture. While sitting in their hotel bar one evening, Michael and Stephanie, talking to the barman about her interest in the paranormal and religious mysteries, she asked if he knew any local churches or ancient religious sites or ruins. The barman, with a wry smile, suggested a visit to a secluded monastery in the hills outside Rome, his response almost instant, as if he already knew the question that would be asked. He described a place rumored to have been the site of numerous exorcisms, providing clear directions and how long it would take to get there. Michael and Stephanie set out early the next morning, although Michael was feeling uneasy as he remembered the barman's manner when telling them about this strange place in the hills. The day was bright as they traveled to the monastery, but as they approached, a chill seemed to settle over the area, a stark contrast to the sunny warmth they had left behind in the city. Upon their arrival, Michael felt an inexplicable unease, a feeling that grew as they toured the ancient stone corridors. Meanwhile, Stephanie was engrossed, intrigued by the monastery's dark history of exorcisms. It was during this visit that something unexplainable happened. Michael had become a bit more at ease with his surroundings and with interest began to explore the grounds of the monastery. While examining an old relic which looked like a stone tablet with inscriptions in Latin, Michael, trying to be clever and impress Stephanie, read out parts of the inscription he knew from his training as an architect. He suddenly staggered, a look of confusion and fear crossing his face. Stephanie was not impressed and exclaimed, "You must be reading that wrong." But from that moment he seemed different, distant, his demeanor changing inexplicably. That evening, back in Rome, Chloe Harding, a writer from America on holiday and someone with a personal interest in the supernatural, felt a strange compulsion to visit a particular church on the outskirts of the city. Her late grandmother, who had been a medium, often spoke of visions leading to significant events, and Chloe couldn't shake the feeling that she was being guided. Inside the church, she encountered Father Juliano Reynoso, an exorcist priest renowned for his work across Europe, particularly in Romania, where he had faced perilous exorcisms. Their conversation about Chloe's interest in the supernatural and Father Reynoso's extensive experience of exorcism caused Chloe to ask the old priest if he would be interested in her writing a book about his missions across the world for the Vatican. The next morning, a troubled Stephanie sought help. Her encounter with Father Carlo Rosario, an old priest, led her to Father Reynoso. Father Carlo had listened to Stephanie's account of Michael's sudden change and knew that this was beyond his expertise. He had heard of Father Reynoso's near-fatal exorcism in Romania, where he had faced the same demon that now seemed to afflict Michael. As fate would have it, Chloe and Father Reynoso crossed paths with Stephanie. The three of them, each drawn by different motives, found themselves united by a common cause. Chloe felt a sense of responsibility to help. Father Reynoso, recognizing the signs of possession, agreed to see Michael. As they made their way to the hotel where Michael and Stephanie were staying, a sense of foreboding filled the air. The bright Roman sun seemed dimmer, and the city's usual bustle felt distant, as if they were moving towards an inevitable confrontation with something ancient and terrifying. The stage was set for a battle not just for Michael's soul, but a confrontation with an evil that had crossed paths with Father Reynoso before. As they entered the hotel room, the feeling of unease was evident, and the shadow over Rome seemed to loom closer, ready to engulf them in its dark embrace. The hotel room, with its modest furnishings and soft lighting, felt like a world away from the looming darkness that had drawn Father Reynoso, Chloe, and Stephanie together. Michael, once vibrant and full of life, now sat in a chair by the window, his gaze distant and unseeing. Father Reynoso observed Michael intently, his experienced eyes scanning for signs of the entity he suspected resided within. The air in the room felt thick, charged with an unseen tension. Stephanie, wringing her hands nervously, watched with a mix of hope and fear. Chloe, notebook in hand, felt an undercurrent of energy she couldn't explain. Her grandmother's stories about spirits and unseen forces echoed in her mind, lending a surreal quality to the scene before her. Father Reynoso began to speak softly, his words a mix of prayer and command. The room's atmosphere shifted, a subtle but noticeable change. Michael's head slowly turned, his eyes locking onto Father Reynoso's with an intensity that was not entirely human. The priest continued his recitation, a passage from the Liber Exorcismorum, his voice steady but forceful. The crucifix in his hand seemed to emit a faint light, a beacon in the gathering gloom. Michael's body began to tremble, his breath coming in ragged gasps. The entity within him resisted, its presence a dark stain on the room's energy. Stephanie moved closer to Michael, torn between fear and the urge to comfort her husband. Chloe, witnessing the unfolding drama, scribbled notes frantically. Her hand trembled slightly, the reality of the situation far beyond any story she had ever written. As Father Reynoso's recitation reached a crescendo, the room seemed to darken, the sunlight from the window dimming as if a cloud had passed overhead. A cold draft swept through the room, causing goosebumps to rise on their skin. Michael's voice, when it came, was a guttural growl, words of Latin he should not know. The entity spoke of places and times long forgotten, its tone mocking and defiant. Father Reynoso responded with a command to leave Michael's body, his experience in Romania a testament to his capability. He remembered the young girl he had saved, the danger he had faced, and it fueled his determination. The demon that had nearly claimed his life then was now before him again, a twisted reunion of souls. The battle of wills intensified, the room a vortex of spiritual energy. Stephanie clung to Michael's hand, her tears a silent prayer. Chloe, despite her fear, continued to document the struggle, her role as an observer giving her a sense of purpose amidst the chaos. As the confrontation reached its peak, the room shook slightly, objects on the dresser rattling. A picture frame fell, its glass shattering on the floor, a physical manifestation of the invisible battle. Father Reynoso, undeterred, pressed on, his voice a beacon of faith in the darkness. The entity within Michael recoiled, its hold weakening under the relentless onslaught of the exorcism. The darkness that had gathered seemed to hesitate, a momentary pause in the storm. It was a sign, however small, that the battle was turning, a flicker of light in the overwhelming gloom. In that hotel room, the struggle for Michael's soul continued, a microcosm of the age-old battle between good and evil. The fate of one man hung in the balance, a battle that would leave none of them unchanged. The struggle in the hotel room had escalated to a crescendo, the forces of good and evil locked in a fierce battle. Father Reynoso, his face a mask of determination, continued to command the demon to leave Michael's body. Each word of the ancient rite seemed to strike the entity within Michael like a physical blow. Michael's body writhed on the bed, his voice alternating between anguished cries and the chilling, otherworldly tones of the demon. There were brief moments when Michael's true self seemed to surface, a testament to his inner strength fighting against the dark invader. Stephanie, her face streaked with tears, stood by Michael's side, her hands gripping his, as if her touch could anchor him to this world. On the other hand, she clutched a rosary, the beads slipping through her fingers in a continuous prayer for deliverance. Chloe Harding, her initial role as a detached observer long abandoned, watched the scene with a mixture of horror and fascination. Her notes lay forgotten beside her. What unfolded before her eyes was beyond the capacity of words to describe. As the first light of dawn began to filter through the curtains, Father Reynoso's voice took on a new level of authority. He held an aged crucifix aloft, and it seemed to radiate a sense of protective power. In a desperate surge of malevolent energy, the entity within Michael unleashed a formidable force, causing the room to shudder as if caught in an invisible tempest. But Father Reynoso stood resolute, memories of his harrowing experience in Romania, where he had narrowly escaped death during an exorcism, fueled his determination. He recalled the young girl possessed by the same demon that now held Michael in its grasp, and this connection reignited his resolve. With a final, authoritative command, Father Reynoso demanded the entity to depart. A profound silence followed, the room abruptly stilling. Mikhail's body went limp, a moment that stretched too long, causing Stephanie to cry out in fear. Father Reynoso, nearly depleted of his strength, knelt and whispered a prayer of gratitude. His eyes, tired yet triumphant, mirrored the victory. The room, which had been a battleground, now felt peaceful, almost as if it had been cleansed by the struggle. Morning light streamed in, warming the space with its gentle glow. Then, in a small but profound sign of life, Michael drew a shallow breath. His eyes fluttered open, revealing a look of confusion, but free from the dark presence that had overshadowed him. Stephanie's relief came out in a flood of tears as she embraced Michael, holding him as if she could never let go. Father Reynoso, a faint smile on his face, observed them, his duty fulfilled. Chloe, her notebook now a testament to an unbelievable night, looked on in awe. What she had witnessed defied all explanation, yet it was undeniably real. As Rome began to wake up, life outside continued, oblivious to the epic confrontation that had just occurred. For Stephanie, Michael, and Chloe, the world would never appear the same. They had faced terror from beyond and emerged victorious. In Rome, a new day dawned. But for those in that hotel room, it was more than just a sunrise. Unfortunately, everything is not as well as it seems. Unnoticed by anyone in the aftermath, Father Reynoso is a little different. Chloe noticed his eyes seemed to flicker red for a brief moment as he glanced around the room. She thinks she must have imagined it. Maybe the demon never left, and now resides in the hero priest, Father Reynoso.